All right, the world may not need another podcast, but it can definitely use a slap. Welcome to Slap the Power, the show that crosses artists who are using their powers for progress. I'm Rick Barrio Dill.
And I'm Asia Nakia.
That's right. On the show today, you've heard a million takes, and we're going to give you one more, the election recap, and kind of a change of purpose here at Slap the Power, which is awesome. We hit our new animal rescue segment, Pause for Progress, where we get into pigeons and Mike Tyson. His first fight was over a pigeon, which I did not know, and that's apropos is what's coming up this weekend with the Jake Paul Tyson fight. And a little later, we get into two scams and a slap, where we take three batshit crazy events, two of which are fake, but one is real. And one of the two of us, in real time, along with you, the listener, learns which one is true and which one is a slap in the face of reality. Okay. But first, we were talking about this show format, and it just did not seem. This is not a normal episode. This is this is post-election, and so we felt that it was very important to kind of be as sort of open as possible with us having the Harris campaign next door and stuff like that. And so, first up, Miss Asia Nakia, how do you feel after the elections?
I think when we left the office that night, I was just still sort of in a state of shock. And then the days following were a bit tough. I just felt my body very heavy, and I was struggling to get myself out of bed pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I've picked myself up off the floor, literally, and, using all of that energy and putting it into this show and the good things we're doing, that really, I had to shift my mindset a bit, because it was a very sombering moment for me, for sure.
There's a dissonance that is created, a cognitive dissonance that is created, that's asking 70 million of us to, to accept something that we know. We have 10 years of evidence to be true. That's a hard one, because especially on the voting side, I'm encouraged, because we have so many Republicans, from, the Cheneys to the insane clown posse to, Taylor Swift, and to pick up the pieces and figure out sort of what happens in a Donald Trump future. But the real crux of the biscuit is, for me, if I can use a fancy technical term, crux of the biscuit, we're going to have to reconcile with the fact that somebody being a racist, wanting to, kind of nationalize the country, we're going to start to see that more and more. And that's a tough thing to swallow when we're like, okay, racism wasn't a deal breaker, and none of it was a deal breaker. And that's what's, I think, for me, it's like, for a while I was like, it's a tough hit, but again, 100 times out of 100, we go all in with what we got. I think, like we said at the top, there's a lot of takes on this, but I think Joe Biden obviously deserves his share of the blame for kind of putting the country and the Democratic Party and such in a situation like that. But even if you put that aside, this is much, much, much bigger than that.
I think back to my grandma and how we were raised and the ethos that were instilled in us at a young age, and you go through this sort of top 5 list, sort of like the 10 commandments, but the manner commandments that we live by.
Sure. And
those were things like have manners, respect one another, respect women, no cursing, and these things, don't break laws, don't kill people, don't, and it's just,
don't accept a $10 million bag of cash from the Egyptians on day one.
That's number 9. Yeah, that was on there
okay,
too. I was taught not to do that.
Yeah. No, you can launder it through crypto, because then they can't catch it.
So I think it's hard to wrap your head around the most basic notions of humanity.
Yeah.
And the things that we thought were important, and the fact that all of these people don't think those things are important. So the fact that we have such different ethos in this country, I think is really hard to understand for most people because you'd like to think that most people are good
Yeah.
and you'd like to think that most people understand racism is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
that you shouldn't steal, you shouldn't cheat, you shouldn't lie. But it's
Anti-trans and
you
anti.
shouldn't be
Yeah.
anti any group of
Yeah.
people, you shouldn't be grabbing women by their.
Yeah.
But the fact that that's okay with everyone for very small economic improvements that they have in their head that
Yeah, well, inflation
that's tough.
when you can sell it as the way it was, and I understand most people aren't, they're not in it like we are, literally being 10 feet away from
Yeah.
a campaign that was kind of had 100 days to get it together and really compete in the 7 states, which by the way she did. And if there was a memo that was leaked, and if indeed they had internal polling in the Biden administration that he was going to lose by 400 electoral votes at a specific time, then you can look at what she did as incredible,
Huge.
and you
Yeah.
wonder what might have happened if Elon Musk wasn't spewing lies and spewing his propaganda, because ultimately that's the toughest thing. We're going to see the things on television and they're going to do it cruelty for cruelty's sake, right? We know it's coming. We know that people are, you can just, and so most people didn't sign up for that, right? And so there's grace in that. And I think most people are like, yo, we want less, immigration and blah, 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 blah. But they're just voting on okay, a change candidate, right? When if you're thinking that she wasn't change. And I think that's kind of the thing where we realized, we had kind of taken, I think, the show as far as we could with its sort of, it has had very national sort of lean.
Yeah.
Shout out to Maya Sykes for, and because when it was started, it was a lot of the stuff was either local that we were concentrating on or things that were here in the U.S. And so this is what's so great is what we did, what this has shown us and allowed us to even have a clearer vision on what we can do with the show is global and animal based, and animal centric in a sense of we're still going to comment on social context and progress, but there's a purple lane here where we're going to have to figure out how to sort of come together because it's like we don't really know. So it's like somebody can't say, well, we're going to be okay. What's the big deal? What's the worst that could happen? It's like,
Yeah.
we know. Yeah. We don't,
We don't know,
really,
but
really like, and so unfortunately, we're going to we're going to need each other. And that's why I think, you do so much on the ground work every day and lifting that up. I think, and trying to build our ability to use the sort of spaceship that we've created here and try and help as many people as possible, lift off in ways that they can for their. Everybody's going to have a war that's coming up. So, we're going to have to band together to help each other fight those. So
yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think having this platform to help unify, connect, and really elevate the artists that we've been, trying to do, but on a bigger scale, on this international level, because we're starting to see how everything is interwoven, and we're going to see it even more.
Sure. You're pulling out of the climate accord. It's like there's all kinds of things that it's another pandemic. It's a global thing, and yet at the same time we have this giant nationalistic, very states' right movement going on right now with complete and total control of government and the military and the Supreme Court. So it's one of those things where we don't know what this looks like, but we're going to need each other. And for those of your audience that don't know me, I come from a music background. I'm very fortunate to tour all over the world, and really people reach out to me all the time on DMs from all over the world, kind of asking, how this is going. Especially we have Eastern European friends that are hitting me up because they have their own problems that are going to get opened up from this, because it is a global situation. If if he pulls out of NATO and if he pulls out of abandons Ukraine, and so all these things. So we'll see. There's always the talk, and then we'll see what is real. But there's going to be a lot of chaos and a lot of distraction a la Elon Musk with his fucking Twitter platform. $30 billion to buy the United States government.
I mean, it was a good investment for him. I mean,
That's
he
a
got
hell of a deal.
Yeah.
Back up your truck to the U.S. Treasury, man. It's insane. Anyway, so let's move on to something that I am looking so forward to, because when I was a kid, boxing it wasn't I was big into boxing, but I was big into Nintendo, and in Nintendo. Iron Mike Tyson, right? That game, Tyson's Knockout, and I learned what his uppercut was like will knock you into the next dimension. And the fact that it's sort of YouTuber Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson coming up this weekend, free on Netflix, I'm excited. I'm super excited.
It's always tough for me because I'm such a, I'm such a non-violent, ahimsa little soul, like,
Sure.
I mean, to my core, even when it's sport, even when it's, I just, it's hard for me to watch violence, but
if you're going to knock the fuck out of somebody.
If you're going to knock the,
No.
But I grew up with the Mike Tyson name,
Yeah.
It was
Same.
in my world. So I think I'm intrigued. I want to see if, he can, make this comeback and kick this guy's butt. I also really don't love people that are cocky and,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if he did get his ass kicked, I probably wouldn't be mad about it. But
you see Tyson in the gym, he looks scary as F, man.
Is scary as F.
I'm like, woo, man. I don't. So I can't wait. But one of the cool things is we have a new segment here that we're calling Pause for Progress, and this falls right into it because our I didn't know this. You brought this to my attention, but I saw on the sort of documentary on Netflix about Tyson and his pigeons.
Yes.
And you were like, no, dude, did you know? And I was like, I did not. So the floor, Asian Akia.
Yeah, it just struck me because I was watching it on Netflix as well. I was like, all right, let me check this documentary, and I was interested. And then all of a sudden he says, "These pigeons are my life," and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah.
So it was really sweet. And then I started kind of taking a deeper dive. And then I find out, his first fight, when he was growing up was because of some bully kid that, very horrifying situation, like ripped the head off of it. I mean, I don't even want to talk about it. But yeah, that was his first fight was, standing up for animals. And
that's where he got the rage from. Right?
Yeah.
He puts it in the ring.
Yeah. It's like to know where someone's story comes from and from a seemingly insignificant animal,
Yeah.
And then I just went on this crazy deep dive. I mean, I've always been in love with pigeons. I've rescued quite a few. I've always felt for them because, maybe not everyone knows, but they are a domesticated bird that now have to live out in the world. They don't really have food source. That's why we always find them by garbage, and they're always picking up things. But that's because they don't have access to seed and grain. These are domesticated animals that now are like stray cats. They need to be taken care of, but it's just the numbers are too big. There's no way we can kind of hone in on that. Just to lean into some of the cool things about pigeons.
Hell yeah, for progress.
Yeah, I mean, I went on a deep dive. I mean, did you know that pigeons can detect cancer?
I did not know that. Pigeons can detect cancer.
Correct.
Wow. Okay.
And they also can detect volcanic eruptions.
What?
Yeah, they're like little weathermen,
Wow.
Yeah, we don't give them enough
weathermen
credit.
without shoulders. Yeah.
No shoulders.
Yeah.
But have you seen those TikTok videos where they put arms on
pigeons?
On birds?
My God.
It's the greatest thing ever. And then they'll put it to like music and yeah, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. It's the greatest TikTok videos I think I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, just to go back, I mean, these were like war courier pigeons. I mean, they were trained to deliver messages, and they've saved lives.
It's incredible. Like as one pigeon that you put in. This is great. One pigeon, G.I. Joe saved British troops from a bombing with 5 minutes to spare. Another by the name of Cher Ami, delivered a total of 12 important messages for the U.S. military during World War I. OG.
I mean,
Yeah.
total badass birds.
On his last mission, Cherami was shot in the breast and still managed to fly another 25 minutes, completing his mission and saving the lives of 194 stranded soldiers. So yeah, don't knock your pigeons,
don't
man.
be
They're
mean
doing
to
good work.
pigeons,
That's right. And
yeah.
otherwise, Tyson will fuck you up, man.
I mean,
Don't talk about my pigeons.
if Tyson does not have a foundation, I've got an idea for him.
All right.
It's going to be for pigeons, and he can spread love and light about pigeons, our little friends that we meet on the sidewalk.
That's amazing. And so, should we be feeding pigeons?
We absolutely can feed pigeons, but we can't be feeding them garbage,
Not like
bread,
hot dogs.
trash, hot dogs. No, because the problem is that they're not getting the nutrients that they really need from picking at garbage and getting little, pieces of bread.
Sure.
And it actually so to answer your question, yes, and you can feed them grains and seeds. But also it reminded me of a time that I was in New York City. And I came across a pigeon that was, I wasn't really sure what was wrong with her. She was just laying on her side. I thought maybe she had run into a window. Sometimes they get this fog and it takes them like 20 minutes to get back up.
Sure.
But I ended up taking her to a bird sanctuary in New York, was walking around Manhattan trying to figure out where to take this bird. Totally threw me off. And
only Asian Nakia.
Yeah. And I just became, close with this pigeon over the next few days while I was trying to figure out what to do with her. And then when I finally got her to the sanctuary and they did like all these tests to see what was going on, she had lead poisoning. And it just broke my heart. And I was like, the impacts that we have. And then she had this like little bumblefoot too from a lot of pigeons end up with it because they get strings and human hair tied around their little feet and it cuts off circulation. So yeah, she had this little bumblefoot and then lead poisoning. I'm like, this poor little soul. But she lived and was released back into lovely New York City. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine you hit the lotto if you wind up in Tyson's pigeon pen. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think it's a good plug. We got to figure out where this pigeon thing goes with Tyson. But.
Yeah. Well, I'm rooting for the pigeons, and I'm rooting for the 58-year-old man to, just hopefully deliver a knockout. But let's see.
So we're both rooting for him.
Yeah.
All right.
So, all right. Coming up after the break, we are going to have our update on rescue story with our sweet, sweet Cole, who needs a foster. So coming up after the break.
Gambling is part of the culture of America, since even before we were America. I'm Norman Chad. I know gambling. I've played blackjack and poker. I've bet sports and horse races. I've even hit the slot machines at a Pahrump, Nevada 7-Eleven. You say gambling, I say gambling mad. So join me on Gambling Mad with Norman Chad, wherever you find your podcasts. Follow us on socials at Gambling Mad Show or at Gambling Mad Norman Chad at YouTube.
All right. Before we go out of here, as promised, we got 2 scams and a slap coming up, but also we have an update on sweet little Cole, Asian Nakia. Tell us about Cole.
Yes. So Cole is one of our rescues from Compton. He was at the house with, sadly, the old man that had dementia, and the animals weren't being fed. Some days, they were forgetting. A very, very sad situation. But anyways, Cole is doing absolutely amazing. But he is going to be in need of a foster this week. So we're looking for some help in the LA area for our sweet, sweet little Cole. He's got a broken little jaw that can't be fixed, unfortunately, but he's fine. He does just fine with it. And he's this shepherd, beautiful, blue eye looking little baby. Aww. And we got to find him a foster home.
Copy that.
Any help with that from our listeners would be most appreciated.
Yeah. All right. So before we get out of here, 2 scams and a slap. This world is batshit crazy, and so it's going to be hard to tell. I don't even know what's real, what's not. And so today, I'm on the block with you, the good listener. Asia's going to lay out 3 things, and we're just going to have to say which one is a slap in the face and is actually real. Go for it.
All right. Here we go. First one, robot dog saves a family from a burning house. Okay. 2, a man breaks into a bank to make a Hot Pocket in the microwave.
Okay.
And number 3, scientists create cloud-making machine to combat droughts.
I love the robot dog. There's a part of me that hopes that is true. But I'm going to say the clouds because the weather clouds, because I think the Saudis have even been playing with that for a while, as the Chinese have too, I think. Right? Yeah.
So the true story is that the man broke into a bank.
Oh, shit.
And microwaved Hot Pockets.
Oh, my God.
But you're not wrong. Like somebody.
Well,
there is.
It's really the
cloud
Democrats that
technology.
control the weather, and
Correct.
we control only when we win. We control the elections.
Correct.
So, yeah.
But yeah. So when the police went in, it was just funny. They asked the man after, what was he thinking breaking into this bank to microwave Hot Pockets, and he was just very matter of fact about it. Like, he didn't have a place to microwave his Hot Pockets.
Hey,
and they asked him if he was worth it, and he said, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there you go.
You ever had that ham and cheese Hot Pocket? Hell yeah.
So I'm saying Hot Pockets are great.
Yeah.
So, makes sense.
All right. Well, thank you guys, the listeners, for indulging us today. It was a different kind of episode, and I think we, hopefully with, we're going to pull together and, reach out online, continue to, hit us with questions, because we're going to need each other's guidance and light as we push forward together. There's a lot of people that are also on our side that are disenfranchised right now that need to know that they belong to a group as well. All right, and just a reminder, we've got some of our favorite products that we're putting on the site, slapthenetwork.com, and our Amazon links are there, which are actually really, really great as well. So make sure to check that out. And before we head out, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe.
Or foster, adopt a dog through Compassion Kind.
Sonics.
Love.
Action.
Progress.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
Slap the Power is a Slap Network production. It's written and produced by Rick Barriodil and Asia Nakia. Our senior producer is Bree Corey, audio and video editing by Asher Friedberg and Bree Corey, and studio facilities provided by Slap Studios LA and 360 Pod Studios. If you're into online power scrolling like we are, don't forget to follow Slap the Power on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and probably Pinterest soon for access to full episodes, bonus content, and more. And if you're as full of hot takes and crazy ideas as we are, please think about dropping us a review to help boost this episode, and you can help blow up the group chat by sharing with friends, family, or random shit posters on the internet you want in on the conversation. And if you're interested in being a guest on the show, please email info@slapthepower.com.